Hi, welcome back to Dwayne's World. This is unboxing day, and we're going to be taking all the parts that I've been accumulating for the past year and open up these boxes and see what we got inside. Some of these boxes I have never seen inside. Some of them were accidentally opened by the UPS driver, but we'll get to that. I'm really excited about this because I haven't been able to look inside these. I've been kind of wanting to save it and share it all with you. And I know what I ordered, but some of it was a long time ago, and it's going to be kind of fun to see it all fresh and new. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This little tiny box here. Let me move some of these out of the way. There we go. So in the last video, I talked about the heavy load kit. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that in the shot, but down there where the landing gear meets the airplane is just in front of that is where the lift struts go. And the lift struts are those tubes, like you might see on a Cessna, that support the wing. This has two on each side. And where the bracket connects to the fuselage there through the longeron, this is a heavy load kit. And what this does is add some reinforcement, some new bolts, and some shaped washers that fit around there, which reinforces it so as the bolt is trying to pull on that longeron, it keeps it from pulling through. And it just makes a more robust lift strut attachment to the fuselage. And so that's highly recommended for anyone building one of these, especially a two-place where you have extra weight. Single place is not as critical, but it certainly can't hurt. So that's the heavy load kit. And this little package just came today. Now, last time we talked about I'm going to be doing the third hinge kit on the rudder and elevator. This was ordered from Aircraft Spruce and Specialty, just arrived today. So when you are riveting, I learned, you need to deburr the holes. And what this is a deburring kit. And this is just a hand crank deal. It has like a drill bit looking thing on the bottom. And you're just taking a quick little circle there and taking the burr off. And then the rivets are for the other hinges. Now, when these were originally built, the original plans called for aluminum rivets on all the hinge points. Later design, they changed that to add a stainless rivet in the middle of each hinge bracket. And so I ordered some stainless. I'm going to drill out those existing center aluminum rivets and replace them with the stainless per the most latest design. So this gets me so I can start working on my next actual work. Guess we'll start with the smallest boxes and work my way up. So this is a pitot tube, and what the pitot tube does is it provides the port for the air pressure to send a signal to the airspeed indicator. As you're flying through the air pressure blows into the end of it, and then this tube routes down to the altimeter, or to the airspeed indicator, and as the pressure changes slightly, it changes the airspeed. And so what looks really cool is to stick them out the nose, but they tend to get broken off there. So the more recent recommended location is actually up here, up out of the way. And keeps it protected that way, and it works just as well. That's the factory recommended location now. All right. Oh yeah. So this goes in the fuel tank. This is the fuel pickup, and this is where the fuel line will attach to and then eventually route to the engine through the fuel pump and fuel pumps. There's going to be an electric fuel pump put in there as well. Now these, I don't know if you remember from the first video if you saw them or not, but the seat belts that were in there had been there for many years, and critters got to them and it was kind of chewed up, and that doesn't make for a very safe seat belt. And it didn't have shoulder harnesses, so this is a seat belt and shoulder harness kit, and this will hopefully keep me from injuring myself. Okay. Bigger box here. If I can, oh yeah, okay. So these are the aero covers. I'm kind of excited to see these actually. It's like watching that 3-year-old Christmas, right? Just rip it off! Oh, cool. I'll show you where those go in just a second here. So, obviously the wings go across here, but in between the wings you have this linkage for the flaperons, ailerons, and to cover all that up is where these covers go. So that goes there, and then this goes like so here. And so this routes up to where the redrive unit helps to flow the air up around that, above where the engine stands. And this piece is goes in between. So this is a kit that you get from the factory, and it comes as a kit that works for the single place or the two place. So this piece is extra long, and according to Mike Harrison at the factory, you trim this to fit for the single place, which is what I have here. So now I splurged. Yeah, got the stickers. Haven't figured out where I'm going to put them quite yet, but you know, got to promote the company, right? I'm pretty sure I know what this is. But we'll see. Oh yeah. Oh, it wasn't what I thought it was, but cool nonetheless. So this is part of the engine assembly. This is the starter. So this will have electric start, of course. This is a starter solenoid. So this is part of the install kit for the engine. Nice. I thought I knew what it was, but I was wrong. Like I said, I've been accumulating these parts for the better part of a year. I'm not a rich man, so in order to buy all these parts, sold a car, some equipment, some of my tools, worked a side job, you know how it goes. So I couldn't just buy everything at once. Pay as you go. So this is a new wiring harness. This is part of the, goes back where the engine goes. These are the connectors. It's all set up with twist locks. So now the engines on these need to be overhauled or inspected, torn down at least, every 300 hours. And so they only weigh about 100 pounds, so it's not a huge deal to pull them off, especially if it's just right there. But if you don't want to be sitting there cutting wires and messing with connectors, so this is a really nice setup. It allows you to just twist lock the connectors to the engine and unbolt it and take it right out. So this is all shielded wiring that goes from the panel to the and 3 pigtails, 2 for front instrument panel and 1 for rear engine connection at rear firewall. Front connectors to instrument panel. It's got all the brackets and twist connectors. Nice. Now he emailed me a whole bunch of pictures, kind of step by step, how to fasten it, where to tie the wiring off to. And this setup makes it really nice for connecting to the panel too. And so, as I mentioned in my first video, I'll be replacing this panel and moving the instruments that are here onto the new panel. And so I've been kind of waiting on the panel. It's one of the first things I got to do after the third hinge installation is work on the wiring in the panel, because once you start working on the windshield and the doors and things like that, it's going to be a lot harder to reach in there and do the work. So while everything's open, it makes sense to do all the wiring and all the nitty-gritty stuff up underneath and take care of that first. So, wiring harness. Now this box, as you can see here, was opened by the UPS driver, or somewhere between here and Arizona. So when I got it, I had to, I couldn't wait to do the unboxing for you here. I had to open it up and inventory to see what fell out, because as soon as I picked up the box on the porch, this comes flying out the hole there. And so I had some calls to the factory and took a bunch of pictures of all the bags that were in here, because there was several different orders in here. One of them is seat kit. So this is part of the framework for the seat, and how that mounts in there. You saw that goofy plywood looking one there last time, so this has, and this also includes all the hardware and the hinges and the latches for the doors, to create the doors. And these, so let's take a look at some of this stuff here. Here's a hinge, and they do a great job at the factory of bagging and tagging all the parts you need. Here's the hinges and the rivets that go with it. Aha! Here's the grip for the stick. You got to soap it up and whatnot to get it on there. Here's some latches, again, rivets, plastics, pins, and castle nuts, all for that little kit. It's all tagged to, let's see, gap cover, front S and R. Some grommets that go around the tube so that you bolt things together. It keeps you from crushing the tube. More brackets and hardware kits. Now they're just all bagged and tagged now. I don't remember if I mentioned it on the first video, but one of the things that the factory recommended after having a kit that was this old is to get what's called a critical hardware kit. I think I did mention that. And it's all the critical bolts that you need. Now, these airplanes, these Challengers they aren't built with, Home Depot stuff you pull out of a drawer or pull out of the bins for your bolts and nuts. These are all AN grade hardware, every bolt and nut in here. So, but all bolts and all hardware is subject to corrosion, and we just didn't know, even though it was stored inside its whole life, did it get wet one time and corrode? We just didn't know. So, for $25, you get all the critical hardware you need, and if something's good, then you don't have to change it, but you'd have it on hand for next time. So, critical hardware, all bagged and tagged for its area. And he has the packs all numbered, hardware pack number 4. Okay, more critical hardware. There's some Roni brackets there. This is part of the door kit. It's a bungee cord. Again, all the rivets and brackets and things that you need to do that little section. It's got a whole instruction book for the doors and hardware. I ordered the doors and the hardware kit for that because I wasn't sure how much I would be flying in the winter time. Most people fly these without the doors. They actually fly better without them, and it's like riding a motorcycle, but you're in the air. And you have the windshield. It's like a motorcycle with a fairing on it. You have the windshield to keep the wind out of your face, but you can stick your hands outside and enjoy the summer breeze. But there's guys that fly these in Canada. There's quite a population of these up in Canada, and guys fly them on skis in the snow and the ice, and they put the doors on them, and you can actually get heater kits that mount from the engine, and because these are air-cooled engines, but they have a fan, a belt-driven fan that forces air through the cylinders, and you can tap off that heat discharge, and basically it's a dryer duct, and pipe that heat up to your cabin and be able to fly in the wintertime. And the guys fly these all year long. So I figured, well, I can always take the doors off, and that's what a lot of guys do. They'll take the doors off for the summer, and if they want to fly in the winter, they put the doors on. So this is part of the seat bracket. Now these are for the fuel tank. Now, when I got this, it was really cool because I took a bunch of pictures on the inside of the airplane and the front and back, instrument panel and the wiring and all the connectors. And Mike Harrison from the factory looked through all the pictures and said, oh, you need this, oh, you need that, oh, I see you're missing that. And I was able to come up with a list of things I needed. So for the fuel tank, there's holes drilled around the bracket. And these bungee cords, these are the factory approved and correct length bungee cords that secure the fuel tank in the airplane. So that's what these are for. Now these are part of that door hardware kit. Now these are the brackets and the tubes that reinforce the frame around here and here, and the door for the door to open. So these are all the pre-bent aluminum tubes that used to create the frame for the doors. All right, so these cushions and this is you get to be your own upholsterer and upholster your own seat. Basically, you just stuff it in there, but it's easier to ship with it all apart. So This will be the new seat that goes on that frame that I was just showing you. So, pretty cool. Challenger. Now, I'm probably not going to pull this out. What this is just a big tube full of clear Lexan. And what that's for is for your windshield and doors. Now it's just a big sheet, you roll it out, and there's a pattern, you cut out the shape yourself and trim it and all that. And so that's what you build it out of. It doesn't come pre-cut. So it's just kind of a stock amount of Lexan that they give you, the appropriate thickness and all that. So cut to fit on your own. Now these are probably one of the most expensive items other than the engine and the redrive unit. But these are the lift tubes. These are the tubes that go up to the wing. And due to their length, it costs like $500 to ship these things from the factory. And yeah, but they did not come with aero covers. Now, there's another big box over there, but this was a single that I won't bother opening up the other box because it's the same thing. But these are the aero covers. And what these do is they slip over these tubes here and make the tubes more aerodynamic. A round tube is somewhat aerodynamic, but when you give it the wing shape, it smooths the air and it doesn't create that vortex behind the tube. And most pilots say that you gain 5 or 6 miles an hour just by putting these on. And so these will go on the 2 tubes on the wing struts. And also these are the right size for the landing gear. So I got an extra piece or 2 for the landing gear. Now, I could have bought full length covers, but it would have been about as expensive to ship those as it would have been to ship these tubes. And so a lot of guys do is save a few bucks and get the 5-foot versions. And then where there's a set of jury struts that, part way up to the wing, there's another set of braces that connect from the wing down to here and tie the 2 lift struts together and kind of triangulates that assembly. And a lot of guys will put the joint for these here and, glue it or tape it or something to seal that together. And it's really not that noticeable, so I'm told. So I cheaped out on that, but when you're 1,000 feet off the ground, no one's really going to see that seam. So now these were not from the factory, although the factory did produce those for these struts. But when I talked to Mike Harrison from the factory, he said they didn't have any in stock, and it's a special extrusion that they have. And so for him to sell me some, he would have to run a special production of it. So they can, at the factory, produce any part of these airplanes for you. And most everything is stock, but a special case like that, in this case it wasn't. So there's another company called You Fly It, and I purchased these covers from them. And it was a pretty reasonable price from them. So get this out of the way. All right. Next box. This one came really recently too, so I believe this is my fuel system and fuel pump. We'll see. Ooh, it is not. But this is something very special. Now, these Challengers have the two-stroke engine, and the muffler kind of wraps around the side of the engine on the other side there. And Mike Harrison was never too fond of how the brackets looked on those. And so Mike tells me that I am the first customer to have the new brackets, which looks nicer and secures the muffler in a better position. And so visually and mechanically, it's a superior bracket. Stainless, looks really nice, all polished. And so I'm really excited about that. It's going to be pretty cool. So another item I got from You Fly It was a brake kit. Now this airplane did not come with brakes, and believe it or not, that was an optional item. And the reason being is that a lot of guys will fly these off of a home strip or off the grass, usually. And so these airplanes are so light and have so much drag that when you cut the power and are rolling around in the grass, it doesn't take much to stop. In fact, you have to add power to get anywhere. But if you're flying off of a paved strip, like I will be doing, and want to do a run-up, you need brakes. And so this is a Black Max brake kit. And so with that has to come new wheels that will accommodate the disc brakes inside. And so these are going to be new rear main wheels. And it's like maybe a primer color. I want to change the color on those so that they're chrome or silver colored. These are the discs for them. Mystery bag. Okay. These are Roni brackets. Now, these locate, we'll get back to the brakes here in a second. I talked about the lift tubes, or the lift struts coming from the fuselage down here. So these are actually the Roni brackets that attach right here and bolt through. So the original factory brackets were aluminum. And there was a couple of instances where those aluminum brackets had fatigue cracked due to just cyclic loads. Every time the wing takes a little bit of load and off again, working that clamp. The real problem oftentimes was guys over tightening the bolts go through there. So there's a center bolt. I'll take one out here. So you see there's a center bolt there, and that's what bolts through the longeron at the fuselage down here. And so if you over tighten that, and then that creates a stress point there at that center hole, and the cracks would begin to develop. And there was at least one fatality that happened as a result of that. And so You Fly It began to design stainless steel brackets. And so these are tested to every time they run a batch of building these things, they run them a 250,000. They take some test samples and run them through a testing agency, and they test, I think it was some crazy number, like 250,000 cycles without any breakage. And so slightly heavier than aluminum, but when you have these, as well as that heavy load kit that I showed you at first, the combination of those makes these nice and solid. So Roni bracket kit. This was very glad to get these. Took a long time to get them. I ordered them and it took me several months to get them. The reason being was because they just ran out of stock, and they had run a new batch. So then they had to send those out for testing, and the testing agency, it wasn't the vendor's fault, it was the testing agency's fault. They just took a long time to get through their testing. So, but eventually I got them, and hey, I didn't need them yet, so it worked out okay. Brake lines. Here's the other rear main wheel. Caution, do not use knife to open. Oh, just kidding. Okay. Also, these are hubs that go in there. Cool. Bearings. So the disc would attach there, and that attaches to the hub. There's the matching one. You're saying, Dwayne, why didn't you get a sharper knife? Oh, okay. So these are the weldments. These go on the landing gear, because these wheels have different dimensions and have to accommodate for the brake assembly. So the stock weldments at the end don't work. So one, two of those. Aha. So that goes here on the stick. So as you have it on your stick. So it's just a single brake for both wheels. And they're hydraulic actuated disc brakes. Oh, okay, so this would be the actual caliper, and the other caliper, and this is the bolts and nuts to assemble all of that. So cool. All right, this is a warp drive 2-blade propeller. Now, my airplane did come with a wood propeller, but it was matched to the engine that I had. And as I learned, the engine that I had with the airplane wasn't one that you want to fly with. It turned out to be, well, when they first started making these planes back in the early 80s, they had great hopes for Herth engines. They, you know, a German company, you'd think engineering would be, they would be well engineered and have great life expectancy, but they had problems with them. Some of the other models were less problematic, but the one particular one that I had, the 2703, was not a reliable engine. So the propeller was matched to that, and so I sold that, as I mentioned last time, to what I found out later was some YouTubers who did some sketchy stuff with that engine. They got it started and they bolted it to to a go-kart. If you want to see that, it's pretty crazy. So Let's see what kind of parts we got with this propeller. So this warp drive propeller is ground adjustable. In other words, you can take the propeller blades, and if you want more climb performance, you can adjust the pitch and then lock it down, and then you can have a climb propeller, if you will. Or if you want more speed, you can flatten the pitch or coarsen the pitch and gain more top end speed. So you can play with it and try different pitches to get the best out of your engine and the balance of what your airplane is going to do. So this is the hub assembly, and so looking forward to see how this all goes together. Ah, interesting. So must be there's a bubble in there. Must be a precision instrument for setting it up. So I'll just throw it over here. Carefully put that back in. All right. So there we go in this hub. Not sure if you can see in the picture, but like so. And that'd go right here. What do I need now? An engine. Yes, an engine. That is on order. I think that's it. More parts are still coming, and we'll unbox those as I get them. But this was kind of fun, seeing all the stuff that is going to go on this airplane. Well, I'm back. Actually, the table's all cleared off now, and I had gotten all the way back to the house and realized that I had one more box. And I was keeping this box in the house because it's a rather valuable thing. Now, one of the things you need when you're flying around here is some certain avionics. Now, if you're out in the country and away from controlled airspace, you don't need some avionics. Around here, we live within 30 miles of SeaTac Airport, which puts you in Class B airspace. Or actually, for the non-pilots, there's sort of a cone around a controlled airspace, like a towered airport. And it's like an upside-down wedding cake where they have tiers of airspace, and it gets wider as you go up. And so Bremerton Airport, where I be flying out of, is underneath the shelf of underneath that Class B airspace. And so when you're that close, within 30 miles of that kind of airspace, you need what's called ADS-B out. And what that stands for is Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. And it's a GPS-based tracking method. You know, back in the day, only the really high-end airplanes had radar and were able to see other airplanes around them. But with this system, it's GPS-based and allows you to see other airplanes on a flat screen, like an iPad or something like that. Or if you have some in-dash flat screens, you know, like a Garmin, you can have it shown there too. But it allows you to see all the airplanes relative to you and over a map. And you help to see and avoid where you're at. This also gives that information with ADS-B out, means you're transmitting also to air traffic control, and they can see you. And so that's coupled with a GPS position sensor and a transponder. Now the transponder for non-pilots is an interrogation type thing where a radar sweep would pass by, and then it sends a signal back to the controller with a 4-digit code. Now, if you're flying with visual flight rules, like I would be, the standard is 1200, and they'll know, oh, there's a 1200 airplane. He's just flying VFR. He's not under a flight plan or anything like that necessarily. And but if you are under the control of an air traffic controller, he will assign you a specific code so that you show up as a specific number on his screen, and so he's able to track and identify who you are amongst everybody else. And so the transponder allows you to change those codes. So that's what this is. I did not know, because things had changed a bit since I was last flying. ADSB out wasn't even invented or thought of at that time when I quit flying, but that's since come into play. And so this was an expense I wasn't expecting, because I didn't realize that if you were underneath that shelf that you still had to have ADSB out. And so here we are. I did a lot of shopping around, and this is the most economical way for me to do it. This is a Tail Beacon X from Avionics, and it's a pretty slick little unit. Now in this little gem right here, it looks like a light bulb, and it is. This is actually intended to, in a certified airplane or an airplane with regular position lights, that you could take out your position light from the tail of the airplane and then insert this in its place using the power wires that are there. And this is your transponder and your GPS position source. And then that transmits this information to your panel and also broadcasts to air traffic control. And so I paid more for these two boxes than I did for the airplane. But that's kind of the nature of flying. You know, one person said, when you're buying an airplane, you buy an engine and then you get a free airplane with it. And avionics aren't too far behind that. People can really trick out their airplanes and spend many tens of thousands of dollars getting all the trick avionics for that. So this is what goes in the panel. And this is the control head. Tiny little guy here, and it would just go right in the panel. That's one of the reasons why I need to get another panel, because I don't have enough real estate in that one. But this allows you to change the squawk codes from 1200 to whatever a controller may decide to assign you. But it also has a multi-function display which can give you a G meter, a turn slip indicator, an attitude indicator, a backup airspeed indicator, you know, just by cycling through. Because it has the pedostatic port, which reads the atmospheric pressure around you so it can tell what altitude you're at. And then also it has a port for your airspeed indicator. So this ties into the tube that goes to your airspeed indicator. You tee off of that, and this would be a backup. And so this gives the information that it needs for altitude encoding. So one of the things that your transponder has to do if you're in that kind of airspace is the air traffic control needs to know what altitude you are, and this transmits that information as well. And so this comes with some mounting hardware and whatnot. So I was keeping that in the house for obvious reasons. Didn't want it to get banged around the shop until I'm ready to install it. So that's what that is, and so I wanted to share that last box. Like I said, I got some other boxes coming. Things are on order. We'll open those when the time comes. And one last thing I wanted to share a little bit. Last time I mentioned a little bit from the Bible, and I wanted to help you understand why I do that and what's that going to look like in the future. Is this some sort of bait and switch where, hey, come look at Dwayne build an airplane, but it's really a sermon time or something like that? No, that's not it at all. I think to understand who I am, I follow Jesus Christ, and he's Lord of my life, when that means Lord of everything. And so I think sometimes we tend to compartmentalize things and put God in this little God box over here, and my building hot rods over here, and golfing over here, and my sports over here, and my marriage over here, and they're all kind of in their separate boxes. But he wants to be Lord of all those things. And so I kind of came to this revelation about 10 years ago, I guess. I was getting some parts together for my previous project, which was my 71 C10. It's not finished yet, but it's drivable with a new rebuilt engine, or a built engine for it. And one of the things I was looking for 10 years ago or so was a Super T10 4-speed I wanted to put in it. And I got to thinking, is it okay to ask God for hot rod parts? And I got to thinking, well, why not? Do we just want to make God Lord of the important things or everything? And so I thought, well, sure, why not? And so ironically, we found a really good deal on one, and that's what's in it now. But I think for me, this is going to be a thing where, well, he's a part of the fabric of who I am. And so as I work on things, a truth might come to mind or something like that, and I'm just going to share it, because that's just part of who I am, and he's part of everything I do. And I hope that if he's not already, that he's part of your fabric, will become part of your fabric of your life as well. You know, if the Bible says, if you, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And to test that, bump into somebody real hard and find out what's in their heart. And you'll be surprised, or maybe not, but you'll see if there's kindness there or expletives. And whatever sloshes out when you bump into somebody kind of tells you what's in their heart. So hopefully you see what's in my heart, and I hope you follow along and enjoy this build. And one last thing, there's some other guys that have YouTube channels that actually fly these things and have them built. One's John. He's got a YouTube channel called Aviation Adventure Boys, and he's been at it for a couple of years. He's got a number of subscribers and followers there, and so you can kind of see what these look like when they're flying and doing different things. And the other is the Cotton Patch. He's got a few videos up, so I'll try to post those links. So if you want to see, jump to the finish line and see what these actually look like flying, I'll try to get it up there. We'll see you next time on Dwayne's World.